But the Lord even had a year of rest for the land. Go ahead and read on.
6 days thou shalt do thy work,
Uh-huh.
and on the seventh day thou shalt rest,
Go ahead.
that thine ox and thine ass may rest, and thy son of thy handmaid, and the stranger may be refreshed.
Now he say, you rest that, you and the stranger might be refreshed. Lord doing this for your good. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm going to tell you, when the Sabbath day comes, I need some refreshing. Because I do work 6 days. And on the Sabbath day, I'll be looking forward to some rest that I might be refreshed. Because that is what the Lord, then he rests that he might be refreshed. And that is what he wants you to do as well. Because, this Sabbath day is pointing to something far bigger than just the seventh day of the week. We're not really going to get into that in this lesson today. But there are lessons that we deal with that. But let's go now to Leviticus chapter 15. And we'll begin reading at verse 16. Leviticus 15, and we'll begin at verse 16. 15 and 16. God read this article, and the man said it is all right for, you to cohabitate with your spouse on the Sabbath day. Well, that's what he said. He didn't give no scripture for it, but that's what he said. Start reading at Leviticus 15 and began at verse 16. 15 and verse 16. Go ahead and read.
And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water and be unclean until the evening.
Now, this is when a man lie with his wife and say, if his seed of copulation go out from him, he shall wash his flesh and be unclean until the evening. Go ahead and read on.
And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation.
Now, every garment and every skin wherein the seed of copulation, go ahead and read on,
shall be washed with water
uh-huh.
and be unclean until the evening.
Every garment and every skin had to wash itself and be unclean until the evening. Now, you're unclean. I ain't talking about no spiritual unclean. You are unclean. You understand what I'm saying? Because if washing your flesh and your clothes would make you clean, then, that ain't going to make you spiritually clean, then, is it? Nope. So you are physically unclean. Yep. And God didn't want you in the presence of the rest of the congregation. Go ahead and read on.
The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the evening.
Now, skip down to verse 31. Go ahead and read. Verse 31. Go ahead.
Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not.
He went on to tell you about some other uncleanness as well. Talked about the woman doing her monthly cycle. She is unclean. But now he said, after he told you about all the stuff that makes you unclean, then he said, thus shall you separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness. Go ahead and read on.
That they die not.
They die not. Go ahead and read.
In their uncleanness.
Go ahead.
When they defile my tabernacle that is among them.
So now, if you are going to do that, then you cannot keep God's Sabbath day. Nope. Then God said have a holy convocation on this Sabbath day. Right. So if you're going to do that, then you can't come into the tabernacle then, can you? Nope. So you can't keep the Sabbath day then, can you? Nope. So you done did it, but you are unclean and you cannot obey God's commandments because you cannot come. Say, well, I'll keep it at my house. You can't keep it at your house either. Lord said have a holy convocation. That's what he said, didn't he?
That's right.
And that is, well, me and some of my friends will keep it. Well, you are still in the presence of the Lord, calling yourself keeping the Sabbath day, and you are still unclean. That's right. So in the eyes of God, you are not keeping the Sabbath day. Call it whatever you want to call it. You are not keeping it. Because the Lord said you cannot come before him in your uncleanness. Go ahead, finish it. What verse are we?
Verse 32.
Go ahead and read.
This is the law of him that have an issue, and of him whose seed goeth from him, and is defiled therewith.
Go ahead.
And of her that is sick of her flowers, and of him that have an issue, of the man and of the woman and of him that lieth with her that is unclean.
Now, let's go over to Deuteronomy chapter 23, and we'll pick it up at verse 10. Deuteronomy chapter 23, and we'll pick it up at verse 10. You can lie with it if you want to, but you cannot come before the Lord in your uncleanness. So if your pleasure is more important than being obedient to God's commandments, then go right ahead. Deuteronomy chapter 23, and began reading at verse 10. 23, and pick it up at verse 10. 23 and 10. Go ahead and read.
If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness.
If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness. Go ahead and read on.
That chances him by night.
That chances him. You know, if this uncleanness just come up on you at night, go ahead and read on. You know what it is. Go ahead and read on.
Then shall he go abroad out of the camp.
Then he shall go abroad. Why did he have to go out of the camp? Because he is unclean, and the Lord didn't want him to pollute the whole camp. The camp was where you dwelt at. And the Lord didn't want the whole camp polluted, so he said, therefore, you go out of the camp. This was a physical uncleanness. You understand what I'm saying? Lord didn't want you polluting the whole camp. He said, therefore, you shall go out of the camp. Go ahead and read on.
He shall not come within the camp. But it shall be, when the evening cometh on.
Now, when the evening cometh on, go ahead and read on.
He shall wash himself with water. And when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again.
Then he can wash himself with water, and then when the sun go down, then he can come back in the camp. But as long as he was in his uncleanness, he had to remain out of the camp because the Lord didn't want the camp polluted. Let's go show you another thing. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 12 and begin reading at verse 1. Leviticus 12 and verse 1. 12 and 1. 12 and 1. You got people today wants to try to get around the cleanliness law. Well, we can't keep it perfect. Well, maybe not. But you're supposed to do the best you can. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I don't hear them trying to throw, these same people, I don't hear them trying to throw away the dietary law, but you ain't keeping that perfect either. Bet you ain't keeping it perfect. If you eat in a restaurant where they sell unclean food, I guarantee you, you ain't keeping it perfect. And that's mostly what you eating in. You understand what I'm saying? Ain't many restaurants around that don't sell unclean food. And if you go and eat in one that sell unclean food, I guarantee you, you are not keeping the dietary law perfect. But I don't hear none of these people, these same people that's trying to circumvent the cleanliness law, I don't hear none of them saying that let's throw the dietary law away. You got to tell that foolishness to somebody else. It don't fly around here. You understand what I'm saying? You just don't want to keep it because it is an inconvenience. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a convenient way to serve God. In other words, you are a cafeteria Christian. I'm going to do this one. Let's see, I'll take this one, and I'll take this one, and I'll take this one. But no, I don't think I want that one, and I don't think I want that one. And well, what about this other one here? Well, I need a little time to think about that one. You can't be a cafeteria servant. You understand what I'm saying? If God said do it, then you do the best you can. That's what you do. Because the Lord is looking up on it. You understand what I'm telling you? He's looking up on it all. Let's start reading here at Leviticus chapter 12. Begin reading at verse 1. Leviticus 12, pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed, and born a man-child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, according to the days of the separation for her infirmity, shall she be unclean.
Go ahead.
And in the 8th day, the flesh of the foreskin shall be circumcised.
Go ahead.
And she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 33 days. She shall touch no hollow thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying be fulfilled.
Now he said, during these days of her purification, she